Okay, so here we are back in the editor, and what we're going to look at today is just the display options to begin with. So how we can get things to appear on the screen of our microbit. And remembering, just like in the MakeCode version of the editor, if it works in here in the simulator, it's going to work when we save it and we export it and put it on the actual microbit. Now, here we can see our code that we've got to work with down the side. We've got our show image option, and this is for the presets. We can see we've got heart in here in capital letters, and we've got a drop box here. And if we open this down, we can see all the different ones, or some of them. As we start to look at it in the interface, we'll see how there's more. But we can pick what it was, and if you pick it here, it's actually going to change it in your code as well. So that's quite nice. Then we've got scroll and show, both of them showing the same sort of parameters in it within these parentheses, these curved brackets here. The difference being scroll will have it move across the screen, and show will display a letter or a number one at a time. We've got our make our own image block, which is where we can create our own. This is the same as the show LED block. And we've got our grid of 25 here. So you've got 5 rows of 5 sort of 0s to 9s. And the number between 0 and 9 is how bright the LED is. 9 being the brightest, 0 being off, and gradients in between that. We've got clear the display, which speaks for itself. And then we've got the set pixels one, which allows us to turn pixels on and off, and specific ones on the screen. So we're going to start off by looking at how to just have text scroll across the screen or move on the screen. We'll look at how we can put that in, and then we'll go on to look at images and the pictures. So let's get some code in here. Now, there are 2 ways we can put this in initially. We can start typing, which is what we will sort of get onto. We'll be doing that. But also to get started, just to see how things look, we can just drag this code in. So I can take the code, I can drag it from here, and just drop it in the workspace. And I'm going to take a scroll as well, or a show, I should say, put it there. So we've got scroll and show. And if we just run these, or I set it to run, you can see scroll is exactly what it says. It's going to scroll it across the screen. So a bit like if we use the show string MakeCode, it's going to move and it's going to slide across. And that goes there. And then we're going to move on to our show here. And we see it's showing each letter, and then it'll show each number at the same time as well. So that's our code. We notice a few differences as well. Here, whilst the display.scroll is the same, we've none of the number or text that we saw in MakeCode. What we can see here is our scroll for our text. This is a string. It's encased in quote marks. You see the color is changed slightly as well. So if we want to put text, if we want a message to display across the screen, we've got to put that in quote marks. Here, though, our 23, that's a number. It's an integer because it's a whole number. It's no point after the end of it. And you see, again, the color is slightly blue. If we wanted to add another message in, I could drag this block in again, but of course, I'm going to get a score and a show and a number, and I don't want that. So start typing, and you notice as we type, we get a little bit of help. The interface does. It tells me I'm typing display. So I put dot, and it will give me various different options, but I know I want scroll as well. That goes in there. And here we'll put text in. Imagine a student would make a mistake. We can type hello world. So it looks right, but it doesn't. We've got our little red dot here. We've got hello is not defined, world is not defined. And the difference here is I want this to be a string, and it's not. I've not put the quote marks in. So I've put the quote marks in, both at the front, just inside a bracket here, and then at the end as well. You see string not closed, missing quotation mark. That's our hint there, so our error checking. That's helping us to spot our mistakes. We put that in there now, and then that will go through. So we could go through and just add more of those. I could use show, put a number in, and I could carry on and do that. And then obviously this is going to stay on the screen. So I've got my display.clear here, display.clear, and then that will clear the screen at the end when I run the program. And obviously you can test it, and then if you were to connect to microbit, you can send it to the microbit, and that will run it on there. But again, as we look at our editors, and we've got this virtual, this emulated microbit here for checking. If it's working on here, and it's doing what you expect it to do, then it's going to do that when you stick it onto an actual microbit. So stop here, have a go, put some text in, put some numbers in, have a look at the difference between scroll and show, see how it is, think about when you might use one and you might use another in your programs, because one might move faster than the others. But anyway, so have a go at that, and then we'll come back and we'll start to look at. So let's have a look at images. What I've done is I've zoomed the interface window here slightly. You can see that plus and minus at the top here. So when we start working on this display.show where we can create our own custom images, we can see it a bit more. And again, if you click the more here, and this is the same for all of them, it gives you a little bit more explanation about what's going on so you can see how it would map against the LEDs on the front here. But we're going to start with show image. And again, if I click on the more, there is a full list of all the built-in images here you can do. But again, I'm going to drag this in, and you'll notice when I put it in, before we come back to the actual display here, we've got sleep here. This is the same as our delay for the microbit, and it's in milliseconds. So at this point, between the brackets, we can put however long we want it to be. So 1,000 is 1 second, and we'll leave that in there so it's ready for slightly later on. But here, then we got a first one. So display.show image with a capital I dot smile. And this dot smile in capital letters here, this is the image that it's going to display. So if I just click play here, you can see it's smile. We've got the bottom, no eyes on it, just a smile. But if I delete this out and the dot and put the dot back in again, we can now see we get a box come up and it says all of the things that we got. And the capital letter ones are what we can use as clock faces, different animals, and so on. And actually, if I zoom out, you can see more of those. But if I pick, say, diamond, and put that in, so we've got the diamond there, and we're going to wait. And what we'll do is we'll actually create a little bit of an animation. So I'm going to go display, dot show, image, and remember that capital I there. That's important. And I wanted the small diamond. So I type in small, whilst it's not the start of it, I can see it's there. And a nice little shortcut is if I click on this or anything that appears in here, it will complete it for me. So I click play, it's going to change, and I can now use the code I've got here to keep sort of duplicating this image and create a little animation. I could do this sort of however I wanted it to look, and now I've got enough in there I can sort of copy multiple lines at the same time. And if I wanted it to go faster, I could change this delay here. So I'm just going to go down, change all those to half a second. And now click play. Got a little animation. So you could start to build up animated. You could encase this in a loop if you wanted to go, or have it happening when a button was pressed, anything like that. So that's the preset images, and you've got all sorts. And as I said earlier, if you change one on here, it's going to change it within this little block of code here. So you can drag that out, and then when you run it, so we're going to get meh, which is where we've got that there. So that's nice and interesting. And they're the preset ones, and they're really useful. But what a lot of times we want to do is actually create our own images. If we're going to create an animation, you might need it to customize it. You might want a stickman dancing, something like that. So here I've got my display.show image, and I've got my grid, my matrix, my representation of the LEDs off the front of the microbit. So I'm going to drag that, and I'm going to drop that in there. All the syntax is correct here. You'll notice each group of 5 numbers. We've got a speech mark or a quote mark at the start of it, a colon at the end, and then another quote mark, and then it goes in. And they're arranged under each other because it helps us visualize the picture. We could have them all running in a straight line, and we would get the same effect. But we've got it like this because it helps us see the picture. And if I just play this now, you can see it's here on the microbit, 9 in the middle, it's going out. So they're fading, they get duller. So you've got a glow effect. And we could change this if I just change all the ones going up the middle to a 9. Taking care not to remove anything that doesn't need to be. If I run it again, you see it's changed. So if I want to extend it out to include these pixels here, I can just change those to a 9 as well. And in doing that, in the same way in Show LED block, I can click and turn them on. I can do this here as well. So I can turn these ones here up slightly, put them to a 6. Remember, it's 0 to 9. 0 is off, 9 is the brightest. All the others are something in between. So we can use those, and we could take that, we could copy it, we could put it on again. Now that will change far too quickly, so we're going to need a sleep in the middle and timing. And then of course we could go through and just start to manipulate this and change it to what we want. So we'll just make a few changes so we can tell it looks different to what we had in the first one. Then we click play. You can see it changes. So we could start to build up our stick man from that and use the logo at the top to act a bit like his head. Sometimes what you might want to do is actually just be able to turn individual pixels on and off. And if you're starting to create games, you actually then might want just a single pixel to be able to move. So here we've got our set pixels option. If we drag that and put it into workspace here, so it's on there, and we've got 0, 0, and 9. First one is our X position, going from left to right, and the second one is our Y, going from top to bottom. Now there are 5 pixels. 0 is the first in X, the first in Y. So 0, 0, and 9 is just a pixel set to its maximum brightness, is this top left one here. So if you imagine actually we want to turn the top corner on, so we're going to change that to 4, 9, still 4, 0, still on the top row. It's there. If we want to go down, we can go 0, 4 for our bottom left, and our bottom right is 4, 4. So have a think. What do you think the middle pixel is going to be? This is really useful. Say if you need to just light one up, or if you wanted to start lighting them all up in sequence, you could go through and you could do this. So that's how we get things displayed. What it's down to you now is to go away and have a go. Turn it into a digital name badge, create an animation, have a pixel chasing something around the screen. When we come back, we'll look at how we can start working the buttons into things and triggering events where we're pressing the physical buttons on the microbit.